Garrison Keillor has a tremendous talent, very entertaining, but he's a far left liberal. About 6 to 8 years ago, he wrote a book about his life and some of his things. And in that book, he spoke about each person in this room. He said, anybody who would attack public schools is attacking the glue that holds communities together, and you're not a conservative, you're a vandal. That's Garrison Keillor. That was 6 to 8 years ago. Just a month or so ago, one of your school superintendents, Rob Miller of Bixby Schools. Rob, are you in the room, Rob? Okay. Rob Miller posted that on his Facebook site, just to show what Rob Miller, a superintendent of Bixby Schools, thinks of each person in this room who has the audacity to want to go to a school board meeting or to complain that superintendents and administrators are not doing the right thing when they're asking our young people, our first, second, third graders, to question their gender identity or to complain that they're teaching them sexual mechanics, things we do in the bedroom with no clothes on. How many of you get the OakPack newsletter? Wow, is this an undereducated group? We need to do something to fix that. Yeah, so I spoke of that Monday in our OakPack newsletter. And I say that to say this, that there is nothing more important than transforming education in Oklahoma. And, I was reflecting tonight, I remembered the story when God's people were just about to go in. A generation had died, an unbelieving generation who absolutely refused to obey the mission of God, which was to take the promised land. They refused, and so God said, you will die in this desert. Your children will go in, and they will take that land. And so that second generation who was getting ready to go in sent 2 spies to Jericho. And of course, they went straight to the whorehouse. They went to Rahab the harlot. Neither one of them were Presbyterians, by the way. I happen to know what denomination they were of, but I out of respect for some of our leaders here, And Rahab said this. She recounted, Israel had a victory over 2 cities, Og and Sihon, and she said, the fear of God is all over everyone here in Jericho, because we know we stand no chance against you. And when, over this past year, our enemies spent 50 and more millions of dollars to make sure that we did not get an education governor and a superintendent of education that would bring Christ-glorifying principles into the classrooms. And in spite of that, Oklahoma's Christian patriots refused to listen and voted in Kevin Stitt and Ryan Walters. That is a Jericho victory, and I guarantee our enemies are scared spitless. If you would bring to the stage with a great applause our next Superintendent of Public Instruction, Ryan Walters.
Thank you all very much. I'm so excited to be back with you all. You know, what tremendous comments tonight from Attorney General John O'Connor. We have truly been blessed as Oklahomans to have him in his position. At the time he was there, we needed an Attorney General with the strength that he has. We needed an Attorney General who was going to go forth and do the right thing. And so thank you so much for your leadership, John O'Connor. You know, I want to tell you all, you have a special place in my heart. I have my wife with me here tonight, Katie. she got to hear all the stories of every time I would come here, I would come home, and I would be so encouraged and excited after spending time with you all. And, you know, we have 4 little ones at home, so it was hard for my wife to jump over here to come to these meetings. So she was very excited to be here tonight, and we're both very excited to be here with you all. I want to say, you know, Rhonda Smith, what a tremendous effort here with the Tulsa GOP. And I've got to say this, folks, I won Tulsa County thanks to you all. Thanks to you all and this effort. We came under tremendous attacks here in Tulsa from these dark money ads that came in from the National Teachers Union. I came in, if y'all remember that a few months ago, I came right to you guys and said, these ads are about to start coming in. They're coming from the National Teachers Union, and we are just going to take them head on. And thanks to you guys' effort, well, obviously we were able to win the state, but we were able to win Tulsa County, and that is a tremendous testament to you guys. This is a war. This is a war for the souls of our kids. The far left has decided that what they're going to do is through intimidation, through indoctrination, they are going to turn our young people against their parents. They're going to turn our young people into their experiments on social transformation that they want. And we have to win this war. I want to acknowledge, I always talk about my favorite school board member, Elena Ashley, again, leading the fight on this here in Tulsa. I mentioned her earlier as it is amazing to me the courage when one person stands strong with the faith, when one person stands for what's right and stands with parents and their kids. She has just had such tremendous courage in doing that. And you know what? The Tulsa media doesn't like it. But let me tell you something. People see through that. And people are rallying to you and your leadership. And I want to thank you for your courage to continue to fight for these kids. But guys, this is real. This indoctrination going on in our schools, what they're doing has real world consequences. This critical race theory, this diversity, equity, and inclusion, all of these, whatever they want to call them, and they're changing the names of them all the time, are meant to divide our kids. They're meant to cause our kids to hate our country. They're meant to make our kids hate their families. And guys, it's an attack on the Christian faith. They want to undermine every bit of that with our kids. And what we've seen, and I want to mention this to you all because the legislature did a great job last year in banning the transgender bathroom policy that we had schools doing. And I was just amazed at watching the media just swarm to this. And I mean, I got, hammered with these questions on, why would you have such a policy like that? Why can't you just let kids decide? And I go, guys, let's go back to Loudoun County, Virginia. We had a boy that claimed to be a girl go into a bathroom and rape a girl, okay? Then guess what the school did, though? Do you kick the kid out of school? No. They sent the boy to another school in the district who then went on to rape another young girl in the girl's bathroom, okay? That then they go to a school board meeting and parents are asking questions about this policy of allowing boys in the girls' bathroom, and that school board had the audacity to say, we've never had an incident in and the parent whose daughter was just raped was in the room and went crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen that video, but he's yelling at them going, how can you say that? You know what happened to my daughter. You know that there's an active criminal case into this. But that is how this woke ideology just it is their religion. They would rather allow those young girls to be raped in those bathrooms than make a politically incorrect stance and say, hey, we're not going to allow boys in the girls' bathrooms. I don't care how much you leftists want to argue it. I don't care how offended by it you may be. We're going to protect our young girls. It's sick, and they are not going to stop. The left is not going to stop. And I want to talk about how they've been able to have this influence. They have fundamentally shifted our schools from instead of parents being the center of their kids' education, instead of parents being the lead on every decision made with their kids, they have positioned it where the teachers' union has more power than parents. They've positioned it where groups like the School Board Association, by the way, in the weeks after that Loudoun County case that I just referenced on the rape of those young girls in the bathroom, the School Boards Association wrote the Attorney General and said, we want parents to be investigated as domestic terrorists that show up at school board meetings. How dare the father of a young girl who was raped in a school come to a school board meeting and be upset? How dare him? These groups have such a strong hold in our schools and try to intimidate any person who speaks out against them. And guys, this is where the money came in against me and against the governor in our race. The National Teachers Union tried to make an example of us by saying, how dare you speak out against the teachers' unions and how dare you stand with parents? We have to put parents back in charge of their kids' education. We do that in several ways. We have to bring unprecedented transparency to our schools. We have to make it where every parent can see every bit of curriculum being taught in their schools. Every dollar, they need to see how every dollar is spent in their schools. Guys, they really didn't like when I made these comments either. In Oklahoma, listen to this. We have more administrative staff in schools than teachers. We hire more non-teachers than teachers in our schools. I want you to think about how crazy that is. You've heard about the teacher shortage. You've heard that we want more teachers in the profession. Schools have continued to hire more non-teachers than teachers, more administrative staff, more bureaucracy, more DEI officers, but not more teachers. This shows you the growth of bureaucracy, their consistent belief that they want to grow these programs to indoctrinate rather than put teachers in the classroom and rather than support our teachers. We have to fight back against the teachers' unions. We have to fight back against these associations, and we have to give parents that power to, first of all, see all those things that are going on in schools, but ultimately, parents should be able to choose the school of their choice for their kids. I had a mother from Tulsa Public Schools called me Tuesday night, and it was a heartbreaking call. Her daughter had been mugged inside the school. She told me that last year she had her daughter's cousin was killed outside the school. And she just broke down to me over the phone, doesn't know what to do with her daughter. She wants to send her kid to another school, but she can't afford it. And she's just heartbroken. I just listened to her cry. And I told her the same thing that I'd tell any parent who reaches out to me who says, I want better for my kid, I need another option. I told her I'm going to do everything I can to help you get your kid in the school that best meets your kid's needs. We have to empower parents to make these decisions for their kids. And I want to take one step back here and talk about how the left has played this game to where we've gotten to a point where we've got pornography in our schools. We've got conversations coming from administrators, teachers, about graphic sex education going on. And we've got teachers that are teaching that America is a racist country, that if you're white, you're racist because of the color of your skin. How did we get here? How did we get to this point? Well, I'm going to tell you, number one, there shouldn't be a federal Department of Education. The feds mess up everything they touch. I mean, the fact that you can trace this back to the early 1970s. We have a Department of Education, and since the creation of the Federal Department of Education, in every educational statistic, we have gone downhill. And I can tell you exactly why that is. Because the feds don't know what they're doing, number one. Number two, the more power you take away from families and the states in regards to education, the more that you are going to have answers and solutions that don't meet the problems that are actually going on. Our founders believed this to their core. When you look at the Constitution, they wanted decisions to be made locally. They didn't want a strong federal government that was dictating these things to individual states. Guys, this is what the 10th Amendment is all about. Reserve powers. The powers not listed in the Constitution are reserved to the people, the states and the people respectfully. Because they knew this. They knew that the more power the federal government got, especially in the areas of which they didn't line out, the more they would have solutions that weren't the real solutions that were necessary. So as the feds began to grow their influence in education, guess what their solutions were? Common Core, critical race theory, now diversity, equity, and inclusion, and social emotional learning. This top-down approach does not work. And the feds are the ones that continue to push these things on our schools and continue to push these things on our state. I will promise you, as state superintendent, I will do all I can to get the federal government out of our education system and get rid of the Federal Department of Education. The other thing that happened at almost the same time was taking God out of schools. Ronald Reagan said in his first inaugural address, we've got to get rid of the Department of Education, and he cued in on this as well. These court rulings that Jesse does such a great job of outlining, that Bob Lynn at Oak-Pack, and again, this is where you guys have made such a tremendous inroads of highlighting that if you go back to Engel versus Vitale, when the Supreme Court drastically overstepped their authority and said that these prayers going on in schools are a violation of the separation of church and state, which, by the way, I'll give you as much time as you want. Show me where in the Constitution it says separation of church and state. Yeah, I knew with this audience, y'all would know that one really quick. Doesn't say that. It does not say that in the Constitution. That is a fundamental misunderstanding of a letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists, where Thomas Jefferson was saying the government won't get involved in your churches. That was what that letter was about. That's not in the Constitution. It's a letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists saying the state isn't going to dictate to churches. But if you read our founders, it's very, very clear. The founders founded this country based on Judeo-Christian values. And hey, oh man, I'm telling you, I was just talking to Jesse about this earlier. Whew, the media doesn't like when you say that. I mean, I had a speech a few months ago where I said, look, I would like every history teacher to be trained through the Hillsdale College history training. Okay, that was not the reaction the media gave me when I said that. But you know, they wrote these articles saying I'm an extremist, and I go, guys, look, I don't care if you're a Christian or not. The reality is still the same. That was what the country was founded on. You can't rewrite history, and you're not going to tell our kids that Declaration of Independence that says we were endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, that Abraham Lincoln, when he looks in the Civil War, he points back to that declaration and says, we have to live up to that. We have to live up to these principles of our country. It was a call to our Creator that gave us these rights. Our young people have to know that story. Our young people have to know our history, and that these are the beliefs that our founders held, and this is what made America great. What made America great was the belief that if we have these Judeo-Christian values and we maximize individual liberty, if we do those two things, we can be unique. We can empower the individual like no country ever has. We can live on a bigger creed. Again, countries were not founded based on a belief. I mean, think about it, the brilliance of our founders and the acknowledgement of Almighty God. That's where our blessings come from. That's where our rights came from. This is fundamentally different than any other country in our history. And the left wants us to take that out of schools. I'm going to tell you, this is where we've gotten. We have allowed the federal government to dictate to our schools. We have allowed the leftists to take God out of our schools. And what happens when they took God out? That was the first step. They wanted to take God out and insert their religion. Their religion is this radical secular state that tells kids in first grade, you know what, you might be a boy or a girl. You make that decision. And by the way, if you decide that you're a girl, we'll have sex reassignment surgery and mutilate your body and say that you're something else. We want to talk to you. We want to have adults talk to you about sex away from your parents. That's grooming, folks. That's grooming. They hate when you say that too, but that's the truth. Adults should not be meeting with your kids talking about sex without your consent, without your knowledge. That is sick and perverse. I will do all I can to fight to get that nonsense out of schools and to put God back in schools, to put an emphasis on the family. There is no one who knows better for their kids than their mom and their dad, period. End of discussion. No bureaucrat knows better. Nobody from the Federal Department of Education knows better. No school superintendent knows better than the mom and dad of those children. So what I come to you tonight, guys, you can tell I'm a little fired up, but I'm encouraged. I cannot tell you how much city elders mean to me, how much the friendship with Jesse Rogers, folks like Bob Lynn mean to me, because, and I told Jesse this several times, that, you know, when you're out there and you're getting attacked and you're hearing all these political attacks and they're running these commercials full of lies about you, I'm going to tell you the strength it gave me to come back here every month and to talk with you incredible folks and to know that we've got the Christian community that is standing strong and is not going to let this happen to our kids. It has meant the world to me. And I'm going to tell you guys, we are going to do this. Oklahoma, we are going to take our schools back. We are going to empower our young people. We are going to get our state back on the right track when it comes to education. And I thank you so much for your kind words to me, your support. And guys, I'm going to do my best for us to win this war and get our schools back on track. Thank you all so much.